stuck in his intestine. Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really rough. It started with just a bunch of stuff going wrong, and then eventually the vet out here was like, we got to do surgery. There's no other way to figure out what this is. They thought it was bones. It was just a whole thing. But he's doing better, and he's got like a scar like this big on his stomach now, and I'm like, oh god. So yeah. How are you, Laura?
I am good. Work is insane, and I feel like I am busy even though I'm not doing anything. So, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole getting back to work thing is going to be, we'll see.
Rough.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm almost hoping I get my settlement and then I don't have to go back to work.
Are you coming back here?
I'm going to be back first week of June as of right now. We've got his last appointment, get stuff taken care of with the vet out here, sutures removed on the 29th, and then I've got a dentist appointment on the 1st, and then we will be coming back. I totally miss being by myself in my own apartment.
Yay!
It's going to be great. Like not being micromanaged every day. It's going to be so cool. I'm so stoked. You don't even know. Cool, there's Alex. Yay. Matthew, did we ever, I know you're maybe busy, but did we ever do, or are you going to do it now, the whole getting it so when we're at 100 or if we get to that?
Yeah, I set that up. We're good. There's a thing that goes in the waiting room that literally says you will be added to the meeting shortly. Once they get to 100, they will just stay in the meeting room. So then they put the link there to search for it. Also, I put in the video description in the video on YouTube, a link to our 7th tradition, a link to registration for ARCNA34. And then there's also a hyperlink directly to each one of those if you go to our actual channel page as well.
Matthew, you're killing it, my friend. Holy cow.
I mean, hey,
good job.
I'm curious though, how do you guys have virtual backgrounds? Because I turn those off.
I don't have one.
Jeff
Okay,
and
that's
Alex
a problem.
do. What is your background right now?
It's a bunch of Nicolas Cage. But no, I turn those off. So that's a little troublesome to me, but because I definitely turn those off.
Who has that?
Me.
Alex and Jeff.
Alex and Jeff. I'm not, again, all that's going to mean is that you guys got to be watching for them. And if you don't mind Alex turning it off just so nobody else thinks to do it, that would be super cool.
I think he can't unmute himself is what just happened.
Is he? Oh, he's not co-host yet. Okay, there we go. Now he's good. Got him.
I feel like he's calling someone right now.
That checks out. All right. Everybody should be co-hosted. We are officially on. We are on live right now. And I'm just trying to mess with chat stuff right now.
I turned it off.
YouTube Studio. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, you can't turn off virtual backgrounds. It says you can, but you can't.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I turned mine off.
But no, he's saying like you can't actually do it, like in the settings.
Yeah, I'm just on the phone with Reed, and Reed says he tried to do it for Step in Time, and they weren't able to do it. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you just got to be on top of it and make sure there's no really inappropriate ones.
Upload default.
I'd say it's doubtful overall that anything inappropriate will be on there.
True.
All right.
Hi, Reed.
Reed's about to be getting a massage.
Reed, is Reed still at work? Is that why he's not on here?
No, I'm getting a massage.
Oh.
Tough life.
Oh.
That sounds great.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
All right, we've got comments disabled now, and now we're just gonna be disabling the chat, and then we should be all good.
So why? I thought there was a comment made that someone should be able to just search ARCNA34 Zoom on YouTube and pull up the.
That is correct.
Okay, I tried that.
Try it with the space.
That sounds great. Yes, it does.
Yeah. All right, we've got comments. All right, I hear it on somebody's.
I just did it, so.
Ditto.
We got a chat. All right,
Yeah,
thank you. I just got your chat there, Alex. All right, cool. We're good with that. Good. 510.
Okay, it's because it's one word. ARCNA34 is one word. There's no space between ARCNA and 34.
Okay, and that's how I put it on everything, that it is ARCNA34 with then a space for Zoom. Hopefully people will see that because it is typed exactly like that and do that. I probably should have. It's too late now unless we stop and restart and do. Well, maybe I could change it. Hold up.
I think people are smart enough to figure it out. I think if it doesn't work one way, they'll
Here's to hoping.
try.
I
something
I
else.
wasn't. The only reason I figured it out is because I went to through Zoom to view stream on YouTube. Because if you're on the meeting, right, you have the
Right,
option
you
to do
can as
that.
well. Yeah.
But but maybe, I don't know.
All right.
If anything, we can set it up with the space tomorrow because we're doing separate. You're doing a
Yeah,
separate
we're going to be
one.
doing separate ones. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. That's what we need.
Well, except it's already on the flyer like that, so we should
It is,
probably
yeah.
need to be.
Details. There we go. Okay, we're good now. Disable comments. Hooray. And save that. All right, that one's done. And I'm gonna add the seventh tradition stuff into the reading or into the video as well here directly.
I'm gonna start finding readers once you're done, Matthew.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Give me 1 second and I will be right back to that. Okay. All right, perfect. We're good to go there. Good there. And, all right. And yeah, we are about the time to start finding some readers. Would anybody that would like to be a reader, please just use the raise hand button in the on your computer or on your phone. Just push the more, and then you can click raise hand, so that we can have. We need 6 readers, please, if possible. So you don't need to unmute or anything. Just if you'd like to be a service, just please go ahead and push the raise hand button, and we'll go from there. Awesome. Thank you, Roxanne. There's one.
And Desiree just came on.
Awesome.
We've got her. She's a co-host.
It made me update before I came in.
Perfect. For the couple people that just joined, we're looking for readers to do the readings at the beginning of the meeting. We're looking for 5 more people. If anyone's willing to do that, if you guys would raise your hand at other participants, or if you're on your phone. Awesome, Lisa, Jean, thank you, thank you.
Adrian, is that a virtual background you have on your screen there?
What are you talking about? I think they're fine as long as they're not inappropriate, Jeff. I
Okay,
don't think we need to be a stickler
Yeah,
about
I'm all right
not
with
having
that
them
as
at all.
well.
Just as long as they're not, yeah, as long as there's no, yeah,
Yeah,
I think everyone got the point.
yeah, checks out. All right.
Cool. So I've got Roxanne for Who is an Addict. Do you want to keep track of this, Matt?
Yeah, I'm actually just gonna keep
Okay,
them, keep their hands raised and just go in order.
Go in order. Beautiful.
Yep. So we'll just, Roxanne will do Who is an Addict. Lisa L will be, what is the
What
program?
is-
Jean will do Why, and then we'll just work our way down.
Beautiful.
Matthew, did you say that chat's disabled?
On that, the chat is disabled. Sorry, within Zoom, yes, with the exception of being able to contact myself or the other co-hosts. Those
Oh,
are,
okay.
yeah,
And then
those
as a co-host, options.
we're
are
Okay.
able to as well.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't know if that was
Yeah.
that was working or not.
Yeah, no, we're totally good with that. So because we're co-hosts, the chat looks a lot more available than it will for
Okay.
other people. All right. Cool. We'll do another announcement for another couple readers here in a second. I'm just doing one last thing here. Oops. Okay, cancel that, close that. That's good. And
Cool. And then the other co-hosts on the meeting, guys, do you guys have your participant screen open and looking and paying attention for when people try to join? Just because once Matt and I are doing the readings and the format, make sure we've got other people letting people into the meeting.
Sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Got it.
Perfect. Cool.
there we go. All right. Now that we're getting a little bit closer to time, if we could get a couple more people that would be willing to read. We currently have 2. We had 3, but now we have 2. We're going to need 6 total. I'm seeing, we got Rebecca, Kevin, Jean. All right, cool. We got 4 there. If you can just use your raise hand button on your computer or on your phone to actually raise your hand so we can keep track of the people here. And we will just go in order with how they come up. And we are under 10 minutes. T-minus 10 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like 2 more readers, 2 more people willing to raise their hand and read. And then if we can leave hands raised, thank you, Greg. Leave them raised until after the readings and then we'll lower them for you.
Awesome.
Loving seeing all the people from New England.
To my other co-hosts, just to let you guys know, I'm perfectly fine lowering hands and unmuting, so I'll take care of that. So don't worry about that. And yes, Kevin he's definitely is. I saw that, Maya.
Just
And
because I saw that we had 7 hands up for
All right,
for
I'm gonna
reading,
lower it.
so he doesn't need to.
Yeah, I appreciate him being extra of service.
Yes,
That's why.
super.
That's why
appreciate
he,
your
that's why
willingness.
he's my sponsor. He took me through my steps for the first time, so that's why. Always about
Great
that
show
service.
of willingness, Kevin. Yep,
Right,
nice,
right?
beautiful. I see it.
Right.
Awesome, cool.
All right.
Oh, bandana. I see a bandana.
Yeah, we
Yes,
got
Steph's got her
we
bandana.
representing,
Wait.
repping the set right here.
I gotta go get mine. It's upstairs.
See, you got to be prepared for that.
Mine
I
won't be here
know.
till
Hey.
Monday.
All right, now we filling up. I'm excited. Oh, I wasn't on mute. All right, it is 5:30 on the dot. Let's get to it. My name is Matthew and I am an addict. Welcome to ARCNA34 Zoom edition. Please help me open this meeting with a moment of silence for the addict still suffering, followed by the serenity prayer. Everyone will stay muted, so please follow along on your own. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Before welcoming our speakers tonight, we would like to make a few announcements regarding this virtual convention. First, while this convention is utilizing both Zoom and YouTube, Narcotics Anonymous as a fellowship does not endorse nor support either company or platform. Because this format limits the possibility for complete anonymity, it is up to each individual member to decide what steps they feel necessary to protect their anonymity, such as removing their last name from their username, turning off their camera if they see fit, and removing the default picture associated with their Zoom account. In addition, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on youtube.com, so please be mindful of this. In an effort to maximize the security within the platform, the chat function, virtual backgrounds, and all screen sharing options have been disabled. In addition to this, the meeting co-host will be monitoring individual participants' video feeds, screen names, and backgrounds, and if anything inappropriate is observed, that user will be removed and reported and will not be able to rejoin the call. This is to ensure that the convention remains a safe, recovery-focused environment for all participants. Each Zoom meeting will become live 15 minutes prior to the start time to set readers for each meeting and will utilize the waiting room function. In addition, each meeting has a limited number of possible participants, and once the Zoom meeting is full, any additional participants are invited to watch the live stream on YouTube by searching for ARCNA34, all one word, space Zoom. I'll put that in the chat as well. And before going any further, we're going to hear a word from our fearless leader, the chair of ARCNA34, Miss Laura B. Take it away,
Thanks,
Laura.
Matthew. Thanks, Matthew. I'm an addict. My name's Laura.
Laura.
I just want to welcome everyone to the Zoom edition tonight. This is all been put together by our fundraising and entertainment committee, and they have done a fantastic job. Thank you guys so much for all your hard work. Super proud of you. Just when I think that, that collectively as addicts that, we kind of like skate on the edge, I watch this come together and it's so professional. And I think we have all the bases covered. I'm really proud of you guys. So thanks again for all your hard work. If you're attending this call tonight, you probably know that we should all be at the hotel right now. And we are a little sad that we're not, but I think that this is going to be really great this weekend. Fundraising and Entertainment has found some really fantastic speakers from across the country and across the world. So I think that we are putting our best foot forward, and I hope everyone enjoys this weekend. We are all super excited about this. The real convention, and I don't want to call it live because we're calling this live. So the in-person convention, as you probably know, has been postponed to July 30th through August 2nd. So July 30th is that Thursday night through August 2nd, which is Sunday. It's still going to be at the Scottsdale Doubletree. Registration is live right now on arcna.arizona.org. Matthew, I believe, is going to put that link up for you. So if you want to register for the convention, this is the weekend to do it. Coming up in a couple of weeks, pre-registration will end. So pre-registration is $98 this year for a full registration. That gets you everything going on at the convention along with a special surprise gift. So if you haven't registered yet, now is the time. We also have gotten some really great room rates too, room rates at the Scottsdale Doubletree this year because we're having it during the summer and because of everything that's going on in the world right now, they've given us a rate of $89 a night. The code for that is ARC, and I believe Matthew is also going to put the link to the hotel website where you can make your reservations online. using that code for the you can also go to ARCNA.org, and there's a link on that page to the hotel website. If you have any issues with that, I know that there was some people that were having trouble getting that rate for Thursday night. I think it's because our room block is full for Thursday. So if you've had trouble registering for Thursday night with that rate, stand by for a few days. The hotel's working on it for us. It should be available next week. If you would rather, you can just call the hotel and they can do that for you verbally as well. I don't know if Diana's on this call tonight, but we do have some bandanas for sale. And I think Matthew has one that Fundraising Entertainment designed specifically for these times that we're going through and for this event. They're available for a $10 donation. And if you are interested in purchasing one of those, we can mail them or they can be hand delivered. And you can reach out to Matthew in the chat section and he can hook you up with that. I think that's all the information that I have for you. I just want to say again how proud I am of this committee. And I'm really grateful that everyone showed up. I hope we see you guys all weekend long. And I hope everybody's staying safe out there. And no matter what, one day at a time, we're not going to use today. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys being here. Love you all.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Laura. And thank you for all of your very hard work. It's much, much appreciated. I was going to do an announcement about the bandanas, but hey, you know, she took care of that. I will definitely be putting links, as she said, to all of the things she mentioned, with the exception of the room rates, because up until about 20 seconds ago, I didn't know that was wanted of me. So, but in addition, I'll put up the links before the speakers come on. Other thing that we wanted to mention is to donate to the 7th tradition for ARCNA34. We are using SquarePay. I will put that link into the chat. It is also linked on YouTube. So if you're watching the live stream, it's also listed on that as well. And before we get to our speakers, we're going to go through some readings here. So Maya's going to share the screen, and then I have asked Roxanne to read Who is an Addict. Let me unmute you here. Oops. And Roxanne, you are good to go.
I'm Roxanne. I'm an addict. Who is an addict? Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We lived to use and used to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, and death.
Thank you, Roxanne. And next up, we've got Gene, who's going to be reading What is the NA Program? Go ahead, Gene.
I'm an addict. My name is Gene. What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is a nonprofit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program with complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership: the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We're not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups, are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We're not interested in what or how much you used or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those that keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next up, we've got Rebecca reading Why Are We Here? Go ahead, Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca. I'm an addict. Before coming to the Fellowship of NA, we cannot manage our own lives. We cannot live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction, we were slowly committing suicide, but addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced and continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized that we were sick people. We suffer from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right, and next up, we have got Greg reading How It Works. Oops, wrong person there. And unmute. There you go, Greg. And now there you go. Sorry, there was a bunch of people that came in, threw me off there.
My name's Greg. I'm an addict. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This sounds like a big order and we can't do it all at once. We didn't become addicted in one day, so remember, easy does it. There is one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. 3 of these that are indispensable are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. With these, we are well on our way. We feel that our approach to the disease of addiction is completely realistic, for the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. We feel that our way is practical, for one addict can best understand and help another addict. We believe that the sooner we face our problems within our society and everyday living, just that much faster do we become acceptable, responsible, and productive members of that society. The only way to keep from returning to active addiction is not to take that first drug. If you are like us, you know that 1 is too many and 1,000 never enough. We put great emphasis on this, for we know that when we use drugs in any form or substitute one for another, we release our addiction all over again. Thinking of alcohol as different from other drugs has caused a great many addicts to relapse. Before we came to NA, many of us viewed alcohol separately, but we cannot afford to be confused about this. Alcohol is a drug. We are people with the disease of addiction and must abstain from all drugs in order to recover.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. And next up with the traditions, we have Lisa. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hello, my name's Lisa and I'm an addict. The 12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have only with vigilance and justice for freedom for the group. Individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2, for group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups and NA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6, an NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay, but our service centers may employ special works, sorry. 9, NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards and committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity of the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions. Every mind us place principles before personalities. I can't see the rest. Thank you. Understanding these traditions comes slowly over a period of time. We pick up information as we talk to members and visit various groups. It usually isn't until we get involved with service that someone points out that personal recovery depends on any unity, and that unity depends on how well we follow our traditions. The 12 traditions of NA are not negotiable. They are the guidelines that keep our fellowship alive and free. By following these guidelines in our dealings with others and society at large, we avoid many problems. That is not to say that our traditions eliminate all problems. We still have faced difficulties as they arise, communication problems, difference of opinion, internal controversies, and troubles with individuals and groups outside the fellowship. However, when we apply these principles, we avoid some of the pitfalls. Many of our problems are like those that our predecessors had to face. Their hard-won experience gave birth to the traditions, and our own experience has shown that these principles are just as valid today as they were when these traditions were formulated. Our traditions protect us from the internal and external forces that could destroy us. They are truly the ties that bind us together. It is only through understanding and application that they work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and thank you everybody for reading. It is now time to get to what everybody's waiting for. Bring our first speaker out. Format of tonight's Friday night main speaker meeting is no matter what, which is the topic of our entire convention. So each speaker is going to share from 45 to 60 minutes. When they get to about 5 minutes left, one of the co-hosts will share something on the screen, letting you know that you have 5 minutes remaining. Obviously, you don't need to stop right then, but just please be mindful of that. So first and foremost, we've got Vegas in the house. We've got Kevin V, who's my old sponsor, took me through my steps for the first time, and I'm very excited to have him here. So let's give it up for Kevin V.
Hey, family, I'm an addict named Kevin. Thank you for that, Matthew. Thank you for, I love you, man, you freak. Thank you for ARCNA for inviting me to this. It's so funny. Matthew was like, man, we got you going on first because it's going to be so hype. And I know you're so hype and it's going to be hype. And I just felt like just being all like chill and giving you a very peaceful message of recovery. I just feel really, I'm laughing. I'm just like, man, I can't do it. I can't do the stand-up today. But I will say this has been, if you're new and you're struggling, and this is your first meeting and this is weird, I can't even imagine getting clean during this. I can't believe I got clean during my struggles. And so if you're new and you're struggling, get a number. Matthew has my phone number. Give it out to them, Matthew. Use it. I don't have a job right now. So I am 24/7 taking phone calls, taking Zoom meetings. Just today was, it's so funny, man. Sometimes when you go to a meeting and you hear somebody share and then you have to speak at a meeting right after, sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. And my head is still swimming with the last speaker I just heard, who was kind of shitting on the Zoom platform. And I always love that. When I hear anybody shitting on anything about NA, I can relate because I'm that person too. And I also know that if I resist what they're shitting on, it probably means I need to take a look at myself, and it's the resistance in me that sees the resistance in them, right? So, but they were just not thinking Zoom was cool and missing hugs and stuff. And I'm thinking, like, today, my day started off in London at a meeting in Brixton with friends of mine that I now have in London who have offered me their couch to come sleep on if COVID takes my career away. And then we whisked off to sunny Las Vegas to chair a noon home group that we have been 5 days a week. After that, my friend hit me up and he's like, yo, I'm speaking in Saudi Arabia, please come. And that was insanity. It was my buddy who is very animated, he speaks in metaphors that are so beautiful. And here he is in Saudi Arabia getting translated every 2 or 3 sentences. And I'm scrolling through the people and I'm watching the heads nod. And I'm like, man, this is the coolest shit on the planet Earth. And then after that, I go to where I got clean, which is Philadelphia. And by the way, welcome to Philadelphia here. That's where I got clean. I did my first 10 years in Philadelphia. There's people here from Philadelphia that saved my life and continue to save my life. And I'm not going to call you out, but you know who you are. And I bounce into Philly and this guy's hating Zoom and you know, my first thought is, I hate you for hating Zoom. And then my second thought was, I get it, because when this hit, I feel like I remember the first thing I hated was the idea of, it was just fear, right? I hated the fear of not being okay financially. And I hated the fear of like, is this no matter what going to be the one that takes me out? Is this the one that, you know, I've been clean 17 years. I got clean in 2003 and I haven't used, that's the one thing I did perfectly. And I love this fellowship because I get to say that here and get that celebrated. I go outside and it's like, yo, I haven't used in 17 years. They're like, whatever, dude. So I love you guys for thinking that's a cool thing. We set the bar awfully low here, don't we? I didn't put heroin in my body for 17 years. Woo! You're amazing, bro. That's so cool. All right, sorry, I'm getting animated now. Matthew likes it. I got to chill out now. I got to chill out. Matthew, you get me so hype. You're such a hyper dude. And I love you. And it was just an honor to go through the steps with you. So, you know, I have to share where I'm at right now before I get into no matter what's. And I have to say that, like, I have not spoke for 45 minutes in forever. I remember like getting clean back in Philly in 2003. It wasn't uncommon to hear 45-minute shares or 30-minute shares. I don't know, for some reason, we just switched over to the 5 nugget, the 10, you know, the quick 10, the tight 15, and the, you know, give me a hard 20. And that was it. And so my brain is programmed to give you all the good stuff that hopefully is coming from a higher power through me to you for about 10, 15, 20 minutes. So having said that, if I bail, it's because I don't want you to hear from my disease. I'd like very much for you to continue being a vessel from this. And if I stop smiling and my upper lip starts sweating, then you realize at about 35 minutes, I'm done. And we got to put on some music. So I hope the lovely hosts and co-hosts have prepared for that. Yeah, what I'm going through right now, and I do want to talk about the no matter what's, because 17 years means I wrote out a lot of no matter what's. There was a lot. But before I talk about that, I just want to say where I'm at right now. And it's the other thing I love about this fellowship is that, can you imagine, like, if we were judged on one terrible thing that we did in our past while we were using? And if that one terrible thing, like if everybody right now could just think about that worst thing that you did, right? That number one shitty thing. If that was who you were for the rest of your life, it would be a really challenging life to live. And I remember, and I'm going through it this week because one of the worst things I ever did in 17 years came up, was posted on Facebook with a picture of my face and a giant diatribe about what a horrible human being I am. And man, that'll take 17 years, right? That'll kick out the podium right from under you. And you will be immediately gutted like any of us would be. You know, I got clean before Facebook, and a lot of my damage is not documented. It's just in memory. So, but to be judged on one moment of my life this week, it gutted me. It gutted me. It took me out. And I felt, and you know, my first thought was like, man, I can't share at this convention because I have no hope. I'm gutted. And You know how we feel like we don't have a message, but really the best message is when we're gutted. And that's the one thing. And you know, it's funny. It's like over the years, you just go against the grain of what you think you should be doing. If you're, I mean, first thought wrong, right? So my brain says, cancel on Matthew. Of course, that's never going to happen, but it might have happened 13 years ago. First thought wrong wasn't always being acknowledged. First thought, good idea. Cancel on Matthew, hide under the bed. Don't share because you're not this gleaming, hopeful image of Narcotics Anonymous, because you don't have all this Gucci bouge to share. But really, being here 17 years, I've been more attracted to the dark stuff than I have the bougie stuff. So I have to tell my head, it's like, no, dude, when you share that you're gutted, just like you love it, they're going to love it, because everybody relates to being gutted. Everybody would not want your darkest fourth step to be posted on Facebook with, if anybody supports this, I can't even say the language. You can stop effing with me, because he's this slice of one time of his life. And I'm grateful to be here in Narcotics Anonymous, where I am not judged by one slice of time in my life. And again, that's the reason I didn't use. And no matter what, if I wasn't in NA, I wouldn't have survived that no matter what. That would be one that would have been a domino that have tipped me over the edge. Because without this fellowship, it was turning to NA. It was going to England this morning. It was then going to Saudi Arabia this morning. It was then going to chair my group in Vegas. And then hearing a speaker shit all over the Zoom platform. And it was that took me out of myself enough to allow me to realize that what it is that we do here, because the self-centered fear had me wanting to grip up and had me wanting to not use, because the disease can't get a bag in me today. But what it can do is get me to really focus on that one sliver of time that I was horrible, get me to really believe that post that I'm a horrible human being. And then it's got me in position. Now it's an easier job to get me to the place of using. And so thank you for letting me share that with you guys. And it's just incredible. And early on, it was not that easy. Early on, it was the no matter what's were like, first of all, I got here, I didn't want to get clean. It's not for people that need it. It's for people that want it. I'm not saying that's not untrue, because I did probably want it, right? Because I used against my own will. I cried. You know, I heard somebody saying I came to that juncture where I can make a left and go to the meeting, or make a right and go to the cop spot. I remember going to the cop spot and crying. That means I wanted it. I wanted recovery, but I didn't have the ability to do it on my own, right? So I'm not going to say that it's that phrase is not good, but for me, I didn't get here wanting NA. My main focus to come here at the time of walking into the Philadelphia home group that I walked into was to just fool people into thinking that I was doing a spiritual thing in my life, because I had burned so many bridges. And for me to get another $10 or another couch to sleep on, it was super necessary for me to convince people, because all the people that didn't even believe in NA, that just had seen it in movies, you know, all your family and shit that see all the meetings and movies, are like, dude, you got to do something, go to NA or something, because you're not coming around me anymore. And so that's what I did. I came in, and NA forced me to stay clean against my will. And I mean, that statement's true and it's not true, and everything's true and nothing's true. But I have to say that if you're here and you don't want to, if you don't think it's going to work, it's going to work. The energy in this room and the energy in all of these rooms has gotten me through every single, no matter what, foxhole, every single one. And I remember so many of them like they were yesterday, because what happens is it's like a total lightning bolt. It's a paradigm shift in thinking, because every single time somebody got me through that, it was in a way that I never thought I would get through it, right? Like when you have $0 in your bank account, that's a big one today. It was a big one early when I was new, when I actually had $0 in my bank account. Now I'm just watching my bank account like move towards that direction because of this lockdown. And I'm a musician. I haven't worked in 60 days. So I'm not quite there yet, but it reminds me of the time when I did come in here with $0. I had, you know, a couple of pairs of socks, a t-shirt, no place to live. I was on a couch. And I remember the no matter what I had to get over then was, well, of course, first not putting a bag of dope in me, but it was thinking that, okay, I'm broke, but in my mind, I couldn't separate broke from can I curse? I can. YouTube is not the church. I'm going to go ahead and curse. And I say it not to be emphatic, but I say it because it makes sense to curse here. It's a time to drop a curse, and here it is. So the difference between I'm broke and I'm fucked is a difference between a fact and the disease. And when I have $0 in my bank account and I say, hey, fellow addict, I would like to share a fact with you. And that fact is that I have $0 in my bank account. The disease doesn't roll that way. For me, the disease goes, you're fucked. That's it. And then NA goes, dude, that's a lie. I'm like, wait a minute, what? How is that a lie? I got to stop. I'm getting hyped now. Matthew's getting hyped. He's getting what he wanted. Damn it. I promised I wouldn't get excited. And that was an amazing, and every single, no matter what that showed up, every single time when an addict told me the solution, I thought, what? There's an addict in this room one time when I told him the second worst thing that I ever did, maybe the third, I don't even remember. He said, we're going to fix that too. I was like, what? What do you mean we? I had come here with so many years of me, just dragging my busted tailpipe and like the just got married cans of destruction, making all the noise coming into the room. And it's all about me. I have to do this. This is a gym that I'm joining. And you guys got to just tell me where the membership is and what machine I have to go do my push-ups on. And boy, was I wrong. He was like, we're going to fix that too. I was like, what? First of all, why is he not judging me for that horrible shit that I just told him, right? Second of all, how am I still even, why didn't he just punch me in the face? Because he had some heinous shit too. Probably the same one. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But every single time, and more recently too, I remember, you know, I'm going to skip around. I remember when I moved to Vegas, I came here to be in an original band. And when you're an original band in music, it means that you're broke, which if your disease is handling that, it means that you're fucked. And so I had to get a day job, and I was working as a taxi cab driver at a time when Uber hit, right? Which is a great metaphor for physical meetings at a time when Zoom hit, but I'm not even going to get there. I'm not even going to get there. But I'm sitting in this taxi cab being crushed by Uber drivers going, I worked for like 13 hours and I made like $28, and I called my boy and I'm just gutted, right? The disease has got me convinced I'm fucked. The truth is I worked for 13 hours and I made $30. That's the truth. The disease handed me the lie, which I bought in fully. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to make it. This is it. This is the one that's going to take me out. And I called my boy in Philly, and he asked me a question, and I apologize to the 6 people in here who have heard this all month, but it's a big one. And he said, Kevin, when in your, at the time, 13 years clean, have your worst fears ever come true? Dramatic pause. Let it sit. That was crazy. It blew my mind. And there was a dramatic pause on that phone call. And I was at a loss. I couldn't even, because what I did was I scanned the hard drive, right? I went back all 13 years because I wanted to prove this person wrong. And he was right. And why I thought he was wrong is because there were so many intense fears. There were so many times where fact met illusion in my life. The warrants for my arrest, the heinous activity, the stealing, the lying, the brutal character defects that I dragged in here that weren't fixed yet because I hadn't taken the steps yet. And they're not fixed now. They weren't even arrested. They hadn't begun the process of being arrested. I hadn't gotten a sponsor. I hadn't worked the steps. So there was no arrest. How did I survive those no matter what? And it was because of this process. And just for me, and hopefully I'm never the addict that tells you what you have to do. I hope to be never the guy that says you have to get, I hate those shares. I hate those, you have to do this. I love the I did this and it worked for me shares. And hopefully I pray that if you call me and I tell you you have to do something, please call me on that and say, Kevin, I thought you were the, how did you do it guy? Why are you telling me what to do? Why are you, because it's ultimately more powerful when I hear how you did it and how you stayed clean. Don't tell me how to stay clean. Show me how to stay clean. Show me what you did. Let me see your light. Let me be attracted to your lighthouse. The lighthouse doesn't go out and get the boats. The lighthouse stays on the damn beach and the boats comes to the light because it's bright as shit. Be bright as shit. Let those busted ass boats come to you. I didn't use, right? So I guess no matter what has been successful all these years, but I will say this is that, the program is the steps, it is meetings, it is prayer, it is meditation, it is sponsorship, it is the unity that is now global in the Zoom meeting. And if you do hate Zoom, it's okay. It's all right. You don't have to love it. That's allowing you to be where you're at. I hated the first, I loved the first open mic serenity prayer. The first time 60 days ago, I heard an open mic serenity prayer. I loved it. And now I fucking hate it. Now I hate it. But when I first heard that, for some reason, I'm like, okay, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. This is just going to work out. And I don't know what it was about that first serenity prayer that allowed me to believe it, but it did. And then after that, I'm like, please turn those mics off. I can't. I'm a struggling addict. I'm a work in progress, but meetings work like a bag of dope worked. Addicts talking to me work like a bag of dope worked. They do. When he said to me, when in your 13 years clean have your worst fears ever come true? It was a bag of dope. It fixed me immediately. It was immediate. Now, this particular one was somebody posting a sliver of my disease on Facebook and telling the world that I'm a horrible person. It's just about at 85% fixed. Hopefully by the end of this meeting, I will be at 93.7%. So it all doesn't work as quickly as a bag of dope did. The steps absolutely did not work as quickly a bag of dope did, right? And that was the hard part. That in the earliest phases, it was an impatient, erratic, more spastic than Matthew, if you can imagine that, addict, bouncing off the walls with absolutely no personality, struggling to grab pieces of other people's personality and glue it onto my face, sitting in a meeting, propping myself up, spitting out what I have heard from people, and I'm like one of those, like one of those Midwestern states that makes one of those gum balls that just they just add pieces of gum to it and it gets bigger and bigger. And then they have like the world's biggest block of gum. Like I came here just one dirty gum ball with no information on it. And now I have like billions of sayings and step work and meetings and metaphors and prayers and meditations, all in this 17-year gumball that now can roll down the hill and attract more gumballs through the gravity. That metaphor, I hope I forget that one. That's insane. But I'm really trying to speak for a long period of time and I'm still feeling it, so I'll continue. But I will say this. My heart really goes out to getting clean during this lockdown. I can't begin to imagine what it might feel. And I can't begin to say that I am completely at your disposal. I am 100% available in phone call, in Zoom meetings. I do this every single day. I have a very structured day. My job is not, it doesn't look like it's coming back in Vegas anytime soon. Live music might never be the same anytime soon. And the disease said you should probably get high because you're not going to survive this one. But I have experience. That says I probably will survive this one. My worst fears have never come true, and they have been fear of death, fear of incarceration, fear of being unloved, fear of being single my entire life, fear of not being single my entire life, right? You'll understand that, anybody that's been in a relationship. fear of being broke. I mean, really, maybe it's all just a fear of dying that I haven't come to grips with. Fear of being in traffic, fear of being found out as a fraud, fear of being exposed, fear of my fourth step being posted on Facebook for anybody to see and download. I remember when I got clean, my first job, I was a DJ my first job was digging ditches. And that was a very spiritual job. It was physical. It was beautiful. It wore my ass out so that my disease couldn't wake me up at night with all the, why did you do it to me, Kev? From all the past ghosts that visited my head. And then after that job, I became a strip club DJ with under a year clean. And then I remember bringing that to, as you do, your predecessors. I mean, your predecessors. And they gently say, hey, Kev, why don't we think about you getting another job? And I remember thinking, well, I'm making so much money. I'm not going to survive. My money fear says I'm going to probably die penniless and insane, unlovable, talking to pigeons in the park. So I'm not going to listen to you, and I'm going to stay here in this job. And oh, and by the way, I remember that my last clean time, the relapse right before that, well, it wasn't really a relapse if you're not working the program, right? Was not taking the advice of another addict. So I said, I had 10 months clean, and I said, I can stay clean no matter what in Japan. I had an offer to go play on a tour in Japan. I had 10 months clean, third step. And they said, Kev, you're not done cooking in the oven. Why don't we hold off on Japan? You're too fragile. That's what I remember him saying. Too fragile. Of course, the disease was like, fuck you, dude. I'm going to Japan. You're just jealous. And of course, I went to Japan and I relapsed. And then I remember, which is a story that would get me 45 minutes, by the way. Matthew knows it. Look, he's excited. He wants me to go there. I'm not going to go there. But I will say this, is that the moral of that story is I didn't listen to the higher power as it spoke through the group of addicts in NA. He wasn't the only one that said didn't go. It was my sponsor, my support group at that time with 10 months clean. So it was about 3 or 4 people that all concurred that I shouldn't go. But I knew that I was going to be able to do it. And when I went there, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything for my recovery, and I relapsed and I came back. But fast forwarding to the strip club, now that is already in my mind. So I've already stepped on that landmine, right? And now I go, oh, all right, maybe you're right. Maybe being in a place where sex, drugs, and music is all together, maybe I might want to take the advice, because I've already stepped on that landmine and I might want to listen. And I did, and I got another job. And NA has been that way for me ever since. I haven't done anything alone. We are in the biggest gang, the biggest hood, and this is the biggest hood gang on the planet Earth now. Saudi Arabia today, England, Philly. It's just incredible. It's the biggest, it's the broadest my base has ever been. And it's the brokest my life has ever been clean, aside from when I had 0 days clean. My first year, this is the least monetarily productive I have been in 60 days since I have been clean. And this is the most happy that I've been, because fuck it. You know, if I remember one time when it looked like I was going to go to jail clean, I have this crazy sponsor that goes right to the end and he goes, this is the ultimate no matter what. He goes, what if you go to jail clean and then you carry the message to the brothers inside? He goes right there. He doesn't coddle. He's just like, well, and then he sends me a link to an addict sharing in maximum security, talking about how he is more free in prison than he has ever been on the outside. And I'm like, man. And then when I didn't go to prison, I was a little, I swear to God, I was a little let down, because my sponsor had prepped me. I know this is crazy. If you're new, keep coming back. this is so crazy. But there was a small moment where I felt like, fuck, because I had gotten so psyched. My sponsor had gotten me so surrendered. What's the worst case scenario? I lose this webcam. I lose this mic, all this gear that you can't see because I have a fake virtual background. I lose all my bass guitars. I lose this beautiful house. And then I got a bag. Some would call that free with a shoulder bag. Some might say, Kevin, you just got freed, brother. So I'm going to entertain that as a possibility of being a thing instead of saying, you know, COVID's going to take me out. That's the no matter what. Like, I'm going to say this and shut it down. How long have I been going so far, Matthew?
I wasn't on the timing, but keep
He's
going.
still
bro.
got
You're
about,
good.
yeah, he's got like 25 minutes, Kevin.
25 minutes? Okay.
About that, yeah.
All right. If you guys want, man, I'll try to muster the hope and faith. But I remember my first no matter what, right? Which could also be described as a reservation was, this is common too, like my mom dying. I remember for some reason, I love my dad, but for some reason it was, if my mom goes, I'm using. I remember that very clearly. And then my mom went and I didn't use. And then my dad went and I didn't use. And then I caught a case clean and I didn't use. And then I lost then the girl that I was so madly in love with that I knew was the one that I treated like shit because I was the emotional development of a 14-year-old left because she just wasn't interested in being held hostage anymore. And I was so gutted that I felt like using and I didn't use. And it wasn't because I manned up. It wasn't because I sat in bed and just toughed it out. It was because I went to the phones immediately because the phones worked. And what phones did I do? I called my people. I called sponsees who saved my life. I had sponsees that guided me through in this room, a sponsee that stepped up in place of my sponsor during one of the worst valleys of my spiritual career. And I owe him my life. And he's in here now. He walked every day with me through that process. And that's why, I mean, you know, there's no, it's funny, like if you're new, I know they were saying Laura is our fearless leader, but Laura would tell you that the guy with one day clean is our real president. She would be the first one to tell you that. The president of the company is you. If you have 30 days today, you're the president. If you got 28 days today, you're the CEO. If you got one day today, you're the grand poobah king, because everything we do here is for you. Every single thing, all of this is for you, because all of us were that person that had a list of no matter what's that we didn't think we could get through. We had a list that NA was going to fix. We're going to fix that too. We're going to fix that too. We're going to do it through sponsorship. We're going to do it with the steps. We're going to do it with late night phone calls. We're going to knock them out one at a time. There is nothing that can, I just remembered, my man's here too. I saw these two old timers who I really love so much. And I remember somebody was talking about this whole, like, nothing that NA can't fix. And he walked up to my boy and was like, what can't NA fix? And the other old timer goes, mosquito bites. And I don't know why I just shared that with you, but I lost my mind when I heard that. I just thought it was the funniest thing and it just popped into my brain. I just wanted to share that. Sorry, I'm getting fragmented and I'm scraping the bottom of the recovery bottle at this point. Because if I didn't get you thinking that this shit works at this point, another 25 minutes is not going to get it done. For real. NA has saved my entire life and all of the people that I love. This is not a gym that I joined. This is my life. I've got people outside of NA, but that's because I have to make money, right? When I first got here, I was like, fuck, I got to go to NA. Now it's like, fuck, I have to leave NA. And you know, you guys got me. You got me hooked. I'm all in. This is all I do. This is all I want to do. And I know that this net has caught me so many times. And if you haven't been caught yet by the net, just make an effort to let it try to catch you. Just find out from someone else what they went through. Just listen to somebody else who has the experience, man, and went through it. Every single time you guys told me the solution, it was the exact opposite of what I thought it was. Fear of not having money. Go get money. That's what I thought the solution was. And they said, you're going to be okay no matter what. How's that going to work? No, I don't want to hear that shit. What do you mean you're going to be okay no matter what? Girl just left, I'm telling you. I have a warrant for my arrest. You're going to be okay no matter what. I'm going to prison. Carry the message to the brothers inside. Fuck off, NA. What is wrong with you? So it does sound like Arabic the first time you hear it, and as it should, right? This shouldn't sound natural to us. If you're like me, natural was just murder, death, kill, ruin, destroy, lie, cheat, cajole, hoodwink, and all the other words that have to do with having a terrible life, a horrible life. Absolutely no hope, no love, no faith, no belief in a higher power, no friends, no money, to a person that is the opposite of all those things, at least until my bank account, until COVID rips it out. And then so what? I'm going to be okay no matter what. I'm going to become looking to you going, guys, am I all right? Am I okay? Are we going to be okay? Is this all right? Yeah, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay no matter what. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you, ARCNA. Thank you, NA, for saving my life. And thanks for letting me share.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. And I'm going to unmute everybody so everybody can cheer, and then I'm remuting them. So unmute everybody.
I think you're going to do that better job. I think probably
Kevin.
Kevin, brother, for your chair.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for that. And next up, we have got Amy, who's going to be bringing her experience, strength, and hope. Let me go ahead and unmute you here, Amy, and go right ahead. And we're going to do the same thing for you as well. So be ready, everybody.
I'm an addict. My name is Amy. Hi, everyone. Hi, Brenda. I love you. Oh, and so many other people, and Adam and Danny and Jamie and Laura and Jenny and all these other faces I know and love, and then all these people that I don't know, and Jean, and I'm just scrolling through, looking at everybody at the moment. Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing yourself with us, and starting the meeting and helping me not be in my head. Yeah, I love this topic. I love the topic of no matter what. And I'm gonna read some of our literature, maybe, who knows, I didn't plan anything, but I went to our literature and read some things. And yeah, I want to thank the committee for, all the work that you did to then have to postpone. That sucks. Because it takes a whole lot of work to put on a convention, and then all the excitement for it to then not know what's going to happen and not know what's going on. But thank you for your selflessness and being available to the addict who still suffers, and being willing to be of service. I don't know what Arizona region's like, but Northern California region, it is a joy to serve on the convention committee for our region. It's all worth it the moment you get on site. You live for getting on site, and the magic that happens when the convention is actually going on and whatnot. So yeah, I'll share briefly that this whole sheltering in place, and how it is in California and where I live, and the restrictions that we have and all of that, it hasn't affected me really. What affected me more was before I was laid off, the company not allowing me to work remotely. And that was more upsetting to me, with living with people that are at higher risk, than not being able to go to a face-to-face meeting. Because for me, a meeting is a meeting. Logging into my computer at home or on my cell phone or whatever, if it's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, it's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I don't need to, although like I love the atmosphere of being in an actual room with other people and the hugs and you know, an online platform like doesn't get that aspect of what some people find in a face-to-face meeting, but like online meetings are just as like epic as like face-to-face meetings. Like my home group, the moment that our county put a shelter in place order, we were proactive and we got a online platform and turned our meeting virtual, and it's still our home group. I mean, there's a lot more people attending my home group than like we have in our face-to-face meeting, which is like kind of cool. Like people are coming and visiting from all over the place, or, you know, people even within our area that either typically are working or they live like on the other side of the area, and I live in the Bay Area, so you know, a 5-mile commute takes like 3 hours. So it's been cool to like get more people to show up to the meeting, and you know, we fellowship after our meeting. It's something that we did while we were meeting in person, and now we do it, we're continuing that virtually, and it's really fun. We have a whole lot of fun. We go through you know, what snacks did someone find at a grocery store that they're going to share with everybody, or either really, really amazing and really delicious, or like what's something you saw that like you thought was going to be really delicious and it turned out like really disgusting. And then one of our home group members like is constantly losing his keys or his wallet or something, so we always get an update on that. And like all this, you know, we just go through like this checklist of all this stuff, and it's just like so much fun. And what's cool is that like my home group's name is No Matter What. We're the No Matter What home group in Lafayette, California. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, when I look at the topic of no matter what, like the first thing that comes into my head is like the no matter what, like don't use. But like when you read our literature, like when it talks, or like when it says no matter what, like it goes through a gamut of like a whole lot of different things. So I'm gonna read like a few of them, because I think like there's so much more than just like the not using when it goes to like the no matter what. But I'll also get into some of my experiences of like staying clean through some like trying times. But here, so I'm gonna start with living clean and then work backwards. So I like this one paragraph in chapter 1 of Living Clean, and it says, our ability to feel joy and gratitude can be a direct result of the suffering we have endured. Staying clean is not a guarantee that nothing bad will happen, but the principles and the steps teach us how to live on life's terms and gives us the courage, strength, and wisdom to stay clean no matter what. We are able to live lives of joy and purpose no matter what we have been through. Faith is what keeps us doing the footwork even when we can't see the reason. And then I also really like, is it here? Where are we? Yes, and then I also really like, separate from the no matter what, to like not pick up, I love this part in Living Clean under a spiritual journey, and it says, we each find a way to surrender, but that does not mean we all come to believe in God. Many of our members have been clean for years as atheists. Some of us coming to believe that NA can accommodate our atheism has itself been a leap of faith. We are welcome no matter what we believe. And I think that's so important. Like the freedom to a higher power of my own choice is something that like I fiercely protect in Narcotics Anonymous. Like we come in here, and some of us having, you know, either religious backgrounds or a relationship with a higher power that like we've had, or we developed this relationship. And I think it's so important. And for me, like, just for me, like when I came in, that like I wasn't told what I needed to believe in. And because like I came in with reservations about like specific higher powers and like, you know, like people who believed in those higher powers and like what they told me of like what was going to happen to me because of the way that in which I lived my life. So like coming into Narcotics Anonymous and hearing and reading in our literature, like the requirements of a higher power, that it be loving, caring, and greater than ourselves. And like, that's it, period. And that like, it can be the group. And at times, like my higher power has been the group. It has been the atmosphere of recovery in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and like the feeling that I get when I'm like sitting in a meeting and I know everything is gonna be all right. Or like when I go to like WSLD, or I go to the World Service Conference and I'm like surrounded by these people that like I love and I built these relationships with, and like the feeling that I get of like that I belong, like that is a power greater than myself working in my life. And I'm like so grateful for that. Like I'm so grateful that I have found a home here, that I still identify as an addict, and but like I'm excited to be a member of Narcotics Anonymous. And like that wasn't what it was like when I first came in. Like when I got clean, like I was scared of NA, and I was scared of the people here, and you know, like I thought that I had too many yets, that like I didn't qualify, and that my disease was not bad enough. And you know, and I got clean April 20th of 2008. And you know, so like the step working guides was a tool that was already available to the fellowship, and I got to utilize that tool. And you know, and I'm grateful for it, specifically in step 1, because like there's this question that I'm going to paraphrase, and it just talks about you know, like if we compare our disease to anybody else's disease, like, you know, if we don't compare it, is our disease bad enough? And like when I look at like my active addiction and like what I did, and even like before I picked up drugs, and like the way that I process things, and like the trauma that I had as a child that like led to like behaviors of seeking things outside of myself, and like this inability to be comfortable in my own skin, and then like all the other behaviors that I participated in that created all this insanity in my life. And then when I look at like my actual like using substances, and like the unmanageability and the powerlessness of that, like I don't have to compare it to anybody else's disease. Like I qualify. Like I am definitely an addict. And as I've stayed clean, I've realized that like it has minimal to do with drugs. Like I have the disease of addiction. I don't have a drug problem. You know, like just the substances that I used, like made shit progress like extremely fast. And my life just became like this skeleton, and it was sad. So, you know, like when I was new and finding like my footing here, and like starting to like meet people, and like finally got a sponsor, and like started to work some steps, and you know, like my life started to unfold. And when I found my foundation, when like I got to the center of Narcotics Anonymous, and like life started to like change, and like, you know, I was able, like some of the most simple things that like I do so second nature today, that, you know, wasn't second nature when I was in my early recovery, like being able to look at myself in the mirror while I'm brushing my teeth. Because like before I got clean, like I avoided brushing my teeth or like being in the bathroom because the mirror was there, and like the shame of like looking at myself. And like being able to like brush my teeth and like smile and be like, I know that person that I'm looking at, and like, and I care about her, and I have love for her. You know, that's such a gift of recovery. Like I am my own friend. You know, like I care about my well-being. You know, like I care about my progress in recovery. I care about my progress in my spirituality, and like how I connect my spirituality to my recovery, and like vice versa. You know, like I care about like the connections that I have with other people. And, you know, and especially like with my family, you know, so much of my adolescence and like my childhood and a lot of like my behaviors and like seeking attention, like specifically from my mom, there was like a lot of trauma around like my belief and perspective of like my mom loving me or not. And like today, like I know like my mom has always loved me. Like she's always loved me, but like she showed it differently than my dad did. And so like, and I took it as like, because mom's not as affectionate as dad, like mom doesn't love me. And so like a lot of my behaviors were like trying to, you know, get my mom's attention and like just crying out for help. And, you know, like a lot of my trauma and a lot of like what I did in my active addiction, like harmed my mom. And then my mom like harmed herself and like self-medicated and like drank because she didn't know what to do with me. And then because of that, I took like mom would rather be drinking than like carrying that like I'm slitting my wrist. And it's like, no, she just didn't know how to like tell me that she loved me and didn't know how to be like, what do you need? Like, how do I help you? You know, like, and I discovered all of that, like when I got clean and started working steps and like made amends to my parents. And, you know, my mom calls me, like we talk on the phone all the time, like almost every day, sometimes like 7 times a day. She'll like call me for the most random things. She'll be like, oh, you know, I was at the store and I saw that blueberries are on sale. I know you like blueberries. Or, you know, like she'll call me and be like, you know, how do I send an email? I have this, you know, there's a form that I need to like send to someone. Like, what do I do? Or, you know, like I can't switch from Netflix to, you know, I want to watch like an actual DVD. How do I do that? And like those times can be a little trying because trying to walk through how to do something with technology like over the phone can be very difficult. And that's been an area where like I continue to have to practice like some patience and definitely like pausing and being like kind and loving. So yeah, but like I love my relationship with my mom. Like my mom she's so amazing. She's so funny. She's this, you know, 100% Italian woman who like is not womanly like whatsoever. She like yells and cusses at the TV whenever there's some sport game on, and she swears and then pretends like she doesn't swear. She says really inappropriate things, and I just love her. She's just so awesome. But yeah, so I'm just like, I'm grateful for that relationship and, you know, like how it's transpired through like staying clean and a lot of like my amends and like the things that like my parents want. Like they don't want the money that like I stole their mortgage, like to the point to when I got clean in 2008, that was the recession. Like both my parents were struggling and you know, banks were fucking assholes. I mean, they usually always are. But like during that time, like even more so. And like I would like go funnel money out of their account that was supposed to be for mortgage. And then like they were forced to sell our house, like the house that my dad lived in since he was a toddler, that like I grew up in. And like there was a lot of shame and guilt about that. And you know, like how do I amend that? And you know, like my mom and my dad, and I know that this is like a lot of other people's experience as well. But like they just want me to stay clean. Like that's all they want. They don't like want money back. They don't like, there's nothing specific. Like they just want me to continue to participate in Narcotics Anonymous and like show up. And yeah, like it's just it's so wonderful. Like it's just, I love it. Kind of circling back around to like this topic of no matter what, and experiences that I've had where either like the thought of using like approached, or like I've gone through situations that like could classify as an opportunity to use, or that like, the overwhelming feelings that like other people have used over, that like I've gotten to stay through clean. So I'm going to read one of my like favorite paragraphs in the basic text, and it's in More Will Be Revealed. And it says, we come to know ourselves for the first time. We experience new sensations, to love, to be loved, to know that people care about us and have concern and compassion for others. We find ourselves doing and enjoying things that we never thought we would be doing. We make mistakes and we accept and learn from them. We experience failure and we learn how to succeed. Often we have to face some type of crisis during our recovery, such as the death of a loved one, financial difficulties, or divorce. These are realities of life, and they don't go away just because we get clean. Some of us, even after years of recovery, found ourselves jobless, homeless, or penniless. We entertained the thought that staying clean was not paying off. And the old us, one thing is clear: we must not use, no matter what. Like I love that. So like some of my experiences of like no matter what is when I had 2 years clean, like after like my parents had to sell the house, and then my parents went into business with my mom's brother, and he embezzled $500,000 from my parents, and which then like they got evicted from the apartment that we were living at. And so like I became without a home. Sometimes I like say like that I was homeless, but I was just like without a home. I always had some form of roof over my head. And in that time, like this was right after, this was in 2010, and it was right after the Northern California Regional Convention, which like changed my life. And I think a lot of things like transpired to like to work just exactly the way that they were going to work, to like set me up to like stay clean through what was to come. So like before this convention in 2010, I had moved down to Southern California to go to school, and I didn't really get connected to NA in Southern California. It was different. It was different from, how like what I was used to in meetings. I was in school at night, so like I only ever knew like meetings in the evening. And so like my schedule was just like all out of place. And then I wasn't a newcomer, but I was in a new area, and I like didn't know how to get connected without like being a newcomer. But yeah, so I just kind of like started to drift off, and I would drive back to Northern California like once a month, just to like get to a meeting and like see people that I knew in my fellowship, and kind of like, just like get fed and then like go back to school. And I like graduated, and I like came home, and it was our regional convention. The area that I was from had like the host subcommittee that year. And so a bunch of people that I knew were on the committee being of service, and they like asked me to volunteer and, like go sit at the hospitality table and, tell people like where what meeting rooms are, and, where are the restaurants nearby, and blah, 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 and like all that stuff. So like I get to the convention, and it was like so overwhelming. There was, at this time, like NCCNA was around like 10,000 people. A very large convention, very overwhelming, but it was like so much fun. It was like so great. So I was like at this convention, and I got handed this big red heart that said free hugs on it. And it changed my life. Like that whole convention just changed my life. Like I crossed this like invisible line of where like I was somewhat participating in Narcotics Anonymous. Like I knew some people in NA. I went to like some meetings. I did bare minimum step work. And then like I experienced that convention. And it's funny because like at the time, You know, like I was getting pulled around from like all these people that were like of service on the convention committee, and like I at that time like thought like they just needed Amy, like they wanted Amy to be of service. And now that as I've stayed clean and have done regional service and I've been on the convention committee, I know that we're just usually shorthanded. And I was just like a person that they could just throw around everywhere to be of service. But like I needed that, like I was so insecure at that time that like I needed to feel like I was needed and that I was wanted. And so like I crossed this line where like Narcotics Anonymous was like cool, like it was something that I didn't really know like a whole lot about, and I like somewhat participated in. And like after that convention, like I was dedicated to NA, like I was dedicated to my program, and I wanted more. I wanted more of what this program had to offer. Like I wanted to be of service. Like I wanted my life to change, and I like just something shifted in my spirit. And then also like the other thing of crossing that invisible line, that like it wasn't just about like what I could get from NA. And like, okay, cool, NA is about going to meetings. And NA is about like me like staying clean or like staying abstinent. And it like became like I care about the well-being of Narcotics Anonymous. Like I care about the program. I care about like public relations, and I care about like addicts being able to find us. And I care about like addicts staying in Narcotics Anonymous and there being unity here. And so like that convention just like changed everything about everything in my life. And you know, and because of that, like, and because like I crossed that invisible line, like what came, you know, 2 months later, like all of that love and that like me changing my perspective and me dedicating myself to NA like prepared me to walk through like what was to come. And like the first thing that happened was I met this guy at that convention who lived in another area about 2 hours away. And he seemed like super spiritual and that he worked a program, and he invited me to come down to the area that he lived and go on a hike into the Carmel Valley and all this fun stuff. And I was like, that sounds great, like cool. Like we go on this hike, and it was just like a little bit weird. And I don't know this guy, like, but I'm just like, oh, he's a member of Narcotics Anonymous, so like he has some clean time, he has a sponsor, like he's good. He has all the best intentions in the world. And like that's one of my character defects, is like gullibleness. Was no longer. And I hear my husband in the other room, he says I'm still gullible. Rude. But so, you know, like I go down and like we go on this hike, and then we go to a meeting in their area, and then like we go back to his place, and like we have dinner, and he's telling me about how he's you know, this spiritual massage therapist, and how he like, you know, works on like chakras and blah blah blah. And I'm like, this sounds great, like I like totally like I love all of that, like make me spiritual. Help me. And he gives me a massage or like does whatever the fuck he did, and then like I want to drive home, and he proceeds to tell me that, you know, like I shouldn't drive, like I just had a massage, like it would be dangerous for me to get on the road, that, you know, like it's 2 hours and it's late, and that I should just stay. And you know, prior to this, you know, I always feel like I have to give backstories as to like why I make the decisions or why I made decisions the way that I made decisions. But like, I'll just say like the reason why like I carried this inability to like say no or to like protect myself was because when I was 14 and I was a freshman in high school and I had a senior boyfriend, which I thought was like the coolest thing in the world. Like when he broke up with me, and we still all had the same friends, and he was loaded one night and forced himself upon me, and I said, no, get off of me, and like he threatened to kill me. I never said no, like for a long time, because I thought that if I said no, that like my life would be threatened. So fast forward to 2010 with 2 years clean, and like in this situation, like I told this guy that like I didn't want to do anything. And like I finally had like this little bit of courage. And like he raped me. And it was like the most horrific experience ever. And I stayed and I didn't know what to do like after it happened. And I fell asleep. And I got up in the morning and I didn't say anything to him, and I got in my car and I like drove home, and I cried all the way home, and I had a new sponsor, and I like called her, and she wasn't available, and I think I like posted something on social media that like that I needed someone, that like I needed somebody to call me, and that I was scared of men, and like some women, and like and at this time in like my recovery, like I was scared of women in Narcotics Anonymous. My relationships with women were just weird. I never had like strong female friendships growing up. So getting connected to women in recovery was like scary. I always felt like I would be abandoned. And like this woman in the area that I got clean in called me, and she like shared her experience of like a similar situation that like she had gone through, and like how she stayed clean, and she shared with me like about how like I can say no, and like even more importantly, like I can get up and leave, that like I don't have to stay, and that I don't have to like let things happen to me. I don't have to go write about it later, because that would be like my favorite thing, is like let the trauma happen, because I can just go process through step work later. And like the women in Narcotics Anonymous like taught me like how to not do that anymore. And like I stayed clean. Like I stayed clean through that. And like 2 weeks after that situation happened, like we were evicted, and I became, you know, without a home, without a constant place of living. And like Narcotics Anonymous showed up, like people in this fellowship took me into their homes, and I couch surfed for, gosh, it was like what, 2 years? 2 years of couch surfing, and like, and at some people's houses they allowed me to stay longer. Like, you know, this member who had never met me, and you know, she has decades clean, you know, heard about like what I was going through, and like her and her husband opened their home to me and allowed me to live there for 9 months. And like just the generosity, like so incredible, like it completely touched my heart. And like again, like had me just like in awe with like other members of this program, and their ability to like give, and like, you know, the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. And like, and I got to stay clean. So, you know, like, and it was hard. Like there was times where like I didn't want to like ask someone, or like find a place and like a roof over my head, and that like I wanted to just like sleep in my car and like not impose on anybody, and you know, like nobody in the fellowship would let me do that. It was hard, like having all of my stuff in 1,000 different places, you know, like having boxes of my stuff in storage, and having like a little bit of my stuff at like one person's house and another person's house, and like hopping from like home to home to home. And you know, but like I stayed clean, and like never once did I think that getting loaded would be a better option, because like I knew that it wouldn't. And you know, my life just continued to progress and like gradually get better. And yeah, and like and at that time, you know, like other things started to happen. I I was voted in as the activities chair for my area. And so I started to go to the area service committee. And at the area service committee, there was these two RCMs, James and Sean, who gave like the most phenomenal RCM reports. And I was like, what's region? I want to go to region. I want to just sit in on a regional meeting. So then I just started to go to region, and I went to region for like a year of just observing and just hearing this information and meeting people. And then I got involved with regional service. And then that's like really how I met some of like the most important people that I have in my life that are on this call. Like other than like the people that are like in my area that are my support group. But like there's stuff that happens like when I go to WSLT and I see Brenda and Jamie, and we sit and we talk and we laugh and we have like so much fun, and we cry and everything. And it's just like amazing. So, you know, like I stayed clean through that, and like that was really like, that was awesome to like not have the thought of using ever come through, and like just stay clean through that, and you know, like move forward. And in the end of 2011, I got a new sponsor, and Wendy's been my sponsor, you know, for over 8 years, 8.5 years almost. And like most important relationship that I have in my life. Like if Tim leaves me, like it will be fucking devastating and heartbreaking. He's not gonna leave me. He can't, I'm amazing. But gotta throw a little bit of humor. But like, I know that if something were to happen and like this forever isn't forever with my husband, I know that like I can stay clean through that heartbreak because I've like seen other people stay clean through it. Like some of the most important like relationships, couples that have like helped me in my relationship have like, you know, shared with me their experiences of their marriage and like how they work through things, and then like watching them get divorced. Gosh, like when my brother Jimmy and Kim got a divorce, like and like this was right before I was about to get married, and I was like, if they're getting divorced, like Tim and I will never work. Like they just like they were my couple. They were like what I looked up to, and like also connected with them on like another thing that like I'll talk about with like no matter what. But yeah, and so like I've been working with Wendy for 8 years, and I've done multiple rounds of steps with her and traditions, and I'm another round of traditions right now, and it's been just wonderful, this journey with her and her guidance and her love. And I just love her. I love everything about her. I love everything about our relationship. I love the way that she guides me through the steps. I love the way that she talks to me and that she gets me. I love the way that like she never takes any credit for my recovery and the work that I do, because like I always want to give it to her. I always want to say that like I have the recovery that I have because she's the sponsor that I have. And she always tells me that like I'm the one that puts pen to paper, and that like I have a higher power. And like she's been my rock. Like she has listened to like the secrets that I never thought were going to come out. She has helped me like rid myself of character defects that like continue to cause pain in my life. She like continues to remind me of like different ways to live and like better decisions to make. And I'm just so grateful for that. And like she's also been like the person to like love me so unconditionally, and like not leave and like never abandon me. And so going into like my like some of my other no matter what's, one of them is in 2012. I met my husband. I met him at our Northern California convention, and I'm not really going to talk about our relationship because there's not really any, no matter what's within our relationship. I mean, there's a Safeway chicken story that he can tell you because he tells it way better than I do. But like briefly, I'll share with you that like he was Prince Charming and he sold me on this like image of himself. And I bought it and I ate it up. And when he asked me to be his girlfriend, he gave me this necklace that had a 1 on it that he got for his 1 year clean from a friend. And he told me that this is where he says that I'm gullible because yes. He said that it was hanging on his wall waiting for the 1. And that it was on his wall the whole time that he was with his ex-girlfriend for 2 years. And I wore it for 2 years in the area that she lives in, and she's a member of Narcotics Anonymous. And I wore it as though she didn't wear it. And like 1.5 years into our relationship, my husband, who was just my boyfriend at the time, decided that he needed to get honest with me about a whole bunch of shit. Part of it was that he watches pornography when I go to bed. And he told me, no, like he has me, he doesn't need porn. And then another one was like some other stuff. And then the last thing was that his ex-girlfriend, Katie, had wore the necklace that I was wearing for 2 years. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. You know, and I could have walked away, like, you know, so much of like what I thought our relationship was and like who I thought he was, and had just all been like turned upside down. And I chose to stay. I chose to love like him as an addict and like having character defects and not just like the good sides of him, and not just like the sides that like make me feel like safe and secure and like loved, but like the sides of him that like where he's vulnerable and he's scared and he's in fear and like that he's human. And since then, like our relationship just like drastically changed, and like in our relationship's been about communication. And like there's been times where like because of his character defects, like he likes to be sneaky, he likes to hide shit, and I will always find it because like I like to find things. I'm a snoop. And so like there's been times where it's like we've like had arguments and fights, and I have left to like go somewhere else for a few days, and like not to leave the relationship, and it's like, and I don't leave anymore, and like we also like haven't argued or had a fight like any of the ones that we've had in the past in a really, really long time. But like before my relationship with Tim, like I didn't have any like substantial long-term romantic relationships. So like I have learned everything that I know and that I want in a relationship through staying and through communicating and through like going through some of the ugly times, through like me living in character defects and like being insecure and pouring that out on him, and then coming back and being like, whoa, like that's not you, like that's my stuff. And then like, and also loving him through like all of his stuff, you know. And so like I met him, and like 2 months, like, so early, I don't know about anybody else, but like early relationships are all like lustful and like really fun and like just want to like be with that person like 100% of the time. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that and like the honeymoon stage, but like everything was about like Tim when I met him. And like when he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I eventually like moved from the area that I lived in to the area that we live in now, where he's grown up, and I had a best friend, And this person was like one of the most incredible people I have ever met in my entire life. He was so much fun, and like the adventures that we had in recovery and the laughter, like deep from the belly laughter, like laughter that just like awakens your soul and like makes you cry, and just like makes you like everything else in the world just like melts away. Like that's what I had with Ivan, and like Ivan was just the most wonderful human. And he was a chronic relapser. And when I met Ivan, he had moved here from Oregon to California, and we just hit it off, and we had the most fun adventures. And you know, like I still, God, I have so much. I keep a video of him on my phone, and Ivan started to drift away from the fellowship. You know, he was a GSR at a meeting that we both attended, and he stopped kind of showing up and was very inconsistent. And I would message him, and I'd be like, where the fuck are you? Like, you have the most important position at this group. A lot of people say coffee is the most important position. I get it. Coffee is important. For me, I really believe that GSR is the most important position at a group, for a multitude of reasons. I won't go down that, but that's just my belief. And, you know, I just started hearing from him less and less and less. And then I get into this new relationship. And so like I'm consumed with Tim, and I stop reaching out to him. And one morning when I was at work, I got a call I think I got like a message from Ivan's sister and his dad on like Facebook or something. And they're like, hey, like, can you please go check on Ivan? Like, we haven't heard from him, like blah, blah, blah. And, you know, like I had all these excuses in the world. You know, like the apartment complex that he lived had a gate, and I didn't know the code to get in. You know, like I get off work and then I drive 2 hours to Tim's, and like all this stuff. And then a week later, I get a call from his dad that they found him in his apartment dead of an overdose. And I know that like I don't have the power to like have done something different and like for him to be alive. Like I know that. But fuck, I like still have like this guilt of like, what if I just like texted him one more time? Or what if I like just waited at the gate for like another resident to like open the gate? Or like something like you know, like that shit still like plays out in my head of like all the things that like I didn't do enough of to save his life. And I'm not that powerful. And I lost my best friend to this disease. And I miss him. And like from that, like I've tried so hard to like do things differently when like I see people that I know starting to drift away from NA. And you know, like I'm not responsible for like my sponsees programs and like them working their steps, but like I'm also not a sponsor that's like not gonna reach out if I haven't heard from them, because like I care about them. So like if I haven't heard from a sponsee in like 2 weeks, I'll be like, hey, you alive? What are you doing? You going to meetings? Like, have you picked up pen or put your fingers to a keyboard? Like, what's going on? I love you. If you're not doing the work, like, how can I still support you? How can I like, what can we do to like get your fire back? Because I hate going to funerals. I am so tired of going to funerals. And like, thankfully, like in the last, I would say like maybe 2 years, like more of the funerals that have happened have been like people dying clean. So I'm gonna go into like my last no matter, or the biggest no matter what, that I continue to like stay clean through, and that it's been like my biggest journey in Narcotics Anonymous and like in life. So like I have infertility issues, and all I've ever wanted since I was a little girl, like my oldest memory, is that like I want to grow up and I want to conceive and be a mom. Like that's all I've ever wanted. That's like my biggest dream. And like I had this whole like life planned out from when I was like 3 years old. And like of course like it did not go any of the way in which like I envisioned it from when I was 3. But so I have like medical issues and my body doesn't function regularly. And I remember when I was new in recovery and I first started working steps and I came into like the reservation section of step 1. And I like to, in the step working guide, it talks about, you know, if there's anything that's so painful that you don't believe like you'll survive the hurt, that like you'll have to use. And I remember like writing that if I can't have kids, like I'll kill myself. That like, I don't see a life beyond that. I don't see my worth beyond me being able to be a mother. You know, and I like share that with my sponsor and that like gives her some concern. And then, you know, like I go on with step work and, you know, like I come back around and another step 1 and come back around to reservations and like still on there, like still don't see like a life beyond being able to conceive, carry a child and give birth and be a mother. And like higher power can't touch this topic like at all. There was like no open-minded to being open-minded about being open-minded about being open-minded. And you know, and I continued like on like step work with my sponsor and then in 2012, again, 2012 was a great year. I went to the World Service Conference in LA, and on Wednesday, we were in Malibu, and everybody, all the, you know, people were playing football on the field, and there was a meeting going on, and there was this member, Bob G. And I just adored him. Super incredible human being, like so much love, so much humor. He was from Florida, and I went on a vacation with my sister to Florida. It was you know, part of like getting clean and making amends to my sister was like building a relationship with her. So we went on a sister trip. And we went to Florida, and I got to go to Bob's home group on Thursday nights, and it was a Living Clean study, and Living Clean was like just approved, but they like wasn't printed yet, so they were reading out of the draft, and it was like so much fun. But you know, Bob was just so wonderful, and you know, I built this relationship like online with him. And like, and I would see him at different like service things that we would attend, that we would both attend, and just have these like little moments. And, you know, like I continued on with my step work, and I continued to come back around to step 1. And like, I finally broke through, and I finally had some like open-mindedness about being open-minded, about being open-minded, about being open-minded. And then like Bob had cancer, and he would come out to California and go to Stanford Hospital to see a specialist oncologist there. And I lived in Palo Alto, and I decided one day like that I wanted to like figure out what was going on. And I like finally had some like courage to see a doctor and get a diagnosis and start like, you know, figure out like what medical treatment and blah, 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 and like just like find some answers. And I remember like posting on, you know, social media, because that's what I do. I post things on social media about what's going on with me and get support and all this stuff. And you know, like I posted about how I was like going and meeting with like a new doctor, and Bob like put the like most simple words on this post, and he said that I was in the best hands possible. And that like I have the best doctors around me that I could possibly have. And 2 weeks later, Bob passed away from cancer. And like he's become my higher power, like one form of it. And specifically when it comes to like all of my medical stuff, like that's the person that I talk to, like that's the higher power that I go to, like when I'm going to a doctor's appointment, when I'm like working steps and like writing on that issue and praying before I write to like have clarity, like that's who I talk to. And so like I started this medical journey and I got a diagnosis and gone through a whole bunch of different treatment with no results. But what I can tell you, and like the no matter what, is that like I've continued to like put the pen to paper and to like try and remove one more open-mindedness from like my being open-minded. And in my last round of steps, I came to step 3, and I had a spiritual awakening. And I realized that that if I never have children, that I'm gonna be okay. And that Narcotics Anonymous is gonna carry me through. And then another purpose is going to like present itself. That at the end of the day, like I enjoy life. I enjoy being a member of Narcotics Anonymous. I enjoy the process of working the steps. Like I enjoy connecting with my higher power. I enjoy having friends that are clean. I enjoy being of service. Like I enjoyed just being with my husband. And if like that's all I get is to just be with my husband and like be with someone who loves all of me, like then I don't need kids. And that like my worth isn't defined by whether or not like I can conceive and have children. That like I am worth so much more and I like have so much value. And so like I no longer want to end my life. And like that's like so much freedom. And there's like so much more like world I want to see and service that I want to do. And like there's so much service that I want to do. There's still so many addicts that like haven't found us yet. There's so much PR work to do. And I want to do it. And I want to get other people to do it. And I want addicts to find us, and I want to encourage people to like continue to like work on your steps and like find the freedom here and be able to like look at yourself in the mirror in your bathroom and like smile and like care about that person that you're looking at. Yeah. And so I'm just like, I'm so grateful that I have like continued to stay and like have made it through like my no matter what's and like my difficult traumas that like I have gotten to heal from. And that like everything that I thought was once my truth, like everything that I knew about truth was like subject to revision. Like especially when we know about the truth, like it talks about that in our basic text, and then it goes into like living clean about that too. And it's like everything that I came in here is like my life's so much different than like the small little narrow-minded view that I had. You know, like there's limitless possibilities. You know, like I really don't think that there is anything that I could experience in life that I would choose getting loaded over than instead of staying clean. And so like there's one last thing, and I will share that like there's not many times that I think about using, like really rarely ever. But like I had this experience last September, where like I wanted to use, and I didn't. In 2013, my husband and I adopted these 2 pit bulls. They were from the same litter, and we raised them together. They were my children, and they were born December 7th of 2012, and we got them in February of 2013, and they were amazing. And, you know, like our little girl Max was fucking crazy. She was hyper as all hell, anxiety problems. She did not like any other animals in the world except for her brother. And, but like about 2 years ago, like she started like having some behavioral issues that like came out of nowhere. And she started to attack her brother Optimus like randomly. And last summer, I was home alone, and she like attacked Optimus, like, and it was vicious and it was terrifying. And I like got hurt in the process of trying to separate them. And like we didn't know what we were gonna do, and you know, like we reached out to a whole bunch of people, and like we got some recommendations, and like we started to like separate them, and like had muzzles, and like did like all these like different little things for a while, and things got better and like back to normal. They were snuggling with each other, and it was all love. And on September 21st of 2019, I was meeting with a sponsee and going over step work, and we had just finished, and I go out to feed the dogs, and Maximus like attacks Optimus again. And it woke Tim up. Tim was still asleep at the time, and like he had to jump through the window to like get outside and like separate them. And I had PTSD from like, and all this trauma from like their first fight, and like me getting physically hurt from trying to separate them, and like all this. And I have I like have shame around this, because like I hate animals like going to the shelter and being surrendered. But like my husband and I made a decision that like Max had to be surrendered. And he needed, like, my husband needed something like done that day. Like there was no like waiting a few days and like looking at her cute face and like all this stuff. And I couldn't go with him. Like I wouldn't go, because like that was my little girl. Like that was my dog. She was my everything. And he took her to the pound or to the shelter, to the county shelter, like whatever. And I drove to a Unity Day, like about an hour away, that I was doing some regional service at. And the whole fucking time, like all I wanted to do was like go get loaded. Because like I felt like I'm that piece of shit that like surrendered an animal to the shelter, and like pit bulls get euthanized, and I fucking hate it more than like anything in the world. And like that's like the last situation of like that I've had to stay clean through. And like this has been, you know, I don't know how many, September, so like 7 months, 8 months of this. And like the pain is still there. Thankfully, like she was rescued. We got her into a rescue group. She is up at a rescue up in Northern California. She's alive. She's doing well. She's getting adopted. Like I want her though, like, but like I still have to surrender. I still have a lot of work to do around this, and like forgiving myself, and like loving my husband for the difficult decision that like I allowed him to make. But then like 2 months later, or not 2 months, December, Tim and I got married. We have Optimus. Optimus was like the most amazing dog. Tim went running with him every day. Everything was epic. He was the best dog in the whole entire world. He was so cute. He loved sleeping. He was scared of his own farts. he was just like this, just amazing. And Tim gets home from work one day and Optimus can't get off the sofa. And he finally, like, he thinks that like he's just being lazy, and he just doesn't want to get off the sofa to go outside and go pee and whatnot. And he like makes him come down, and his two back legs just fall to the floor. And Tim tells me about how like Opie just looks up to him and like looks at his back legs, is like, "What's going on, Dad? Like, I can't walk." And my husband rushes him to the emergency vet. And they like send us to like another emergency vet to like meet with a neurologist and like all of this stuff. And like he had a blood clot rupture in his spinal cord and like he was paralyzed. And it was gonna cost like $10,000 for like a 60% chance of him being able to walk again. So on December 2nd of 2019, we had to put Optimus down. And so we lost our two dogs over this last 7 months. And I know that like some people like might not understand like why I'm talking about this, why this is relevant. But those are my kids. And especially with like my infertility issues, like they were everything. They went everywhere with us. And like now I don't have an animal, and it's weird, and my husband doesn't want another animal. And like he doesn't want to go through, he doesn't want to sign up for the heartbreak. That's inevitable eventually. And like that's a pain that like I continue to like not use over. And I cry, and we have a whole mural, and like I won't get rid of any of their stuff. I won't allow like Tim to wash their blankets, because like I want their puppy smell still on there. I still like, I'm looking because right here is like where their bed is and everything. And we have Optimus's ashes, and we have these huge pictures, and all of this stuff for them. And I got a stuffed animal made of Optimus, and I talk to it, whatever. It's like my process of like how I deal with the grief, and how I like stay clean. And I'm like so grateful that like that in the basic text it like talks about like everything that affects our recovery is material for sharing. And like to some people like a death of an animal like might seem like minimalistic, or they like you might not like empathize with losing an animal. And then like I hope you never do empathize then, because like that pain, like it fucking sucks. But like I continue to remain clean, and I continue to go to meetings, and like, and when it's on my spirit, and when I'm having a rough day, and when I like don't want to be at home, because like walking into our living room and watching TV, like my dogs aren't there to like both jump on me at the same time, and like, and it's different. And like, and I get to go to a meeting, and I get to share about that. And then like I get to hear from other people that like that they empathize and like their experiences, and like that we get to stay clean together. And I'm just like, I'm so grateful for that. I'm like so grateful that like I found Narcotics Anonymous, and that like I identify with this program, and that like I'm doing the work to stay here, and that like I want to stay here, and I want to continue to do the work. So yeah, and I don't think there's anything else that I can share about. I've spoken for a really, really long time. I don't even know how long. I probably am like starting to lose people and bore people. But yeah, I'm just, thank you. Thank you for allowing me like the opportunity to like remember like the things that like I've gotten to stay clean through. But like I don't always like think about, because this isn't always a topic that I think about. Like, thank you for like walking on this journey with me, especially like the people that know me, and that have loved me like unconditionally through all of this. And like the people that are of service that continue to like inspire me in ways that like I want to be of service, and that like I want to reach the addict still suffering. I'm so grateful for all of you and for being here and being a member of Narcotics Anonymous and staying clean another moment. So I'm an addict and my name is Amy. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. All right, I'm gonna unmute everybody. Let's hear it for Amy.
Amy!
All right. Back. Awesome. Thank you so much for that share. Sadly, it is time for our first night of ARCNA34 Zoom edition to come to a close, but damn, what a way to start this convention off. So I want to say thank you to Kevin. I want to say thank you to Amy for sharing your experience, strength, and hope, as well as everybody else who was of service during this meeting. Before closing the meeting, I have asked Jim from New Hampshire to read We Do Recover. We're going to get that screen shared, and let me unmute you here, Jim. And there you go. You're good to go.
Hey, y'all. We do recover. When at the end of the road, we find that we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs, we all face the same dilemma. What is there left to do? There seems to be this alternative. Either we go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proven itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. And again, thank you everybody for this absolutely awesome first night. We will be back tomorrow, starting at 11 o'clock a.m. Arizona time. The meeting will become active 15 minutes beforehand. So if you'd like to be of service and grab a reading, please hop in about 10:45 and we can get one assigned to you. And then we've got meetings. We've got 5 meetings tomorrow. So we have 4 workshops. Or 3 workshops, I don't know, don't quote me on that. And then we've got our main speaker tomorrow, 2 speakers at 5 p.m. And then we'll be having another speaker on Sunday morning. So hopefully we'll see lots of people around for the whole weekend. It's going to be lots of fun, lots of recovery. So after a moment of silence for the addicts still sick and suffering, both inside and outside of this virtual room, we will close with the 3rd step prayer. Everybody will stay muted, so please follow along at home. Many of us have said, take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, and show me how to live. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Much
Keep
love.
coming
Thank you again
back.
to our speakers. It was amazing. And hopefully I'll see everybody there tomorrow.
Everybody. Woo.
Thank you, everybody. And hold on, I was gonna send. All right, cool. Yep, thank you. And my co-host, stay on for a second if we don't mind. Once we get a little bit cleared out, we will go ahead and do that. We'll do a little wrap up. Hey, Brenda, so you know, you're gonna be getting a text from somebody who was wanting to get Amy's number. Amy said it was perfectly fine to give it to her, but I didn't have her number to give it.
Okay.
So I just gave her your number because I know that you have Amy's number. So
Okay, cool.
awesome, thank you. And
I
I'm gonna
will forward to you as well.